Hello everybody, welcome back to the Malbeefance channel. Here we are in episode 3 of our series replay 4, Strategic Command, American Civil War. So it's still pretty early on in the game. This would technically be turn 5 that we're heading into. There's not a lot of units on the board. We're still figuring out our positions here in Northern Virginia and over in Missouri. So with that said, let's go ahead and advance the turn and see what we get. All right, so first up is a decision that needs to be made. What this all boils down to is Italian General Giuseppe Garibaldi. Historically he was responsible for unifying Italy as we understand the country today, and historically he did express an interest in coming over to the United States to help the Union against the Confederacy. Now, Lincoln's administration did enter into negotiations with him about this, but ultimately they decided against having the general come over and help out because the one of the things that the Union was doing to keep the European powers from getting involved is they were presenting the entire American Civil War as an internal affair, which obviously it is. But you know, crown heads of Europe, they want to expand their empires at any chance they can get, makes them look big. So ultimately, General Garibaldi was not invited over to help out. Now, in the game, what Garibaldi will do, if you go ahead and you recruit him, what's going to end up happening is you'll get a really good headquarters unit. It's like a strength 8 or strength 9. And then he'll bring just a couple of units with him, like 3, 4 units or 2 or 3 units. But they're not all that powerful, so they really don't add all that much to your forces. But you do get that really good headquarters unit. Problem is, I've said yes to this, and I've recruited Garibaldi in games that I've played through in the past. And unfortunately, what he does is he brings an awful lot of drama with him. Seniority issues, just general stupidity when he's not commanding troops. So it's not worth the drama. So I really not interested in recruiting him. So would I like to invite Garibaldi to fight for the Union? No, I do not. Okay, so this squadron of gunboats is going to continue on down to the Gulf of America and help me out on the Mississippi River. Union warships are blockading Hampton Roads. Haiti begins exporting cotton to the Union, because obviously we're not getting it from the South anymore. Former Dominican President Sanchez is captured and executed by Spain. So the Monroe Doctrine, the whole point of the Monroe Doctrine is to keep the crown heads of Europe out of the Western Hemisphere. Get them out and keep them out. Well, the American Civil War, a number of European nations saw that as a weakening of American resolve. Spain in particular, they came back and they reconquered the Dominican Republic. President Sanchez began leading a guerrilla war against them, but unfortunately he was lured into a trap, captured and executed. War Department reports progress on naval tactics up to 41% and progress in industrial technology up to 54%. There's our ledger for next turn. Computer calculating supply for the Confederates. So the computer's thinking, planning, moving. So there's not a lot of units on the map, so there's not a lot of jumping around on the map. Okay, so there's the timberclad, and there are the gunboats. The Confederacy starts with a gunboat and a timberclad on the Mississippi River, and then after a turn or two, they get 3 gunboats on the Atlantic, and there's one of them showed up at Chesapeake Bay. And then General Price and his small forces are obviously moving over here by Joplin, Missouri. And now we got some movement in Northern Virginia. A couple of skirmishes going on. Anything else? And can you believe it? Confederate partisans already. I just occupied that hex, and already. Talk about your bad dice rolls. Alright, so supply for the Union. Brigade spotted in Shreveport. General Beauregard spotted in Richmond. So, more advice. Basically, what this boils down to is put lots of units along the Ohio, because sooner or later Kentucky is going to join one side or the other, and then when they do, the race is on to create a front line in Kentucky. Hopefully, Kentucky will join the Union. I'll be able to move forces as rapidly as possible towards Nashville. Excuse me. More strategic advice here. I've got to get ground units within 4 hexes of Richmond and Nashville. Until I do that, the diplomatic, how do I want to put this? The United Kingdom, France, and Spain, their desire to support the Confederacy will continue to grow until I've got land units within 4 hexes of Richmond and Nashville. Okay, so amongst all the other issues that are working against the Union, here's another one. Another thing that I got to avoid doing is I got to avoid getting any kind of Union forces within 2 or 3 hexes of any of the European outposts that are still over here in the Caribbean. Okay, because the last thing I want is for one of these powers to declare war on the Union. They're just too powerful. They have too many forces. Those forces are too experienced. They'll just roll over the Union. So I've got to avoid that at all costs. All right, armored trains now available for production. And doesn't look like we're getting any reinforcements this turn, so let's start with finishing off this gunboat. Go ahead and get all of my frigates set up for raiding supply lines. And the Minnesota can head out. The Wabash will pull in for resupply. Swap these 2 frigates so that this one can resupply. It's close enough to Fort Monroe to be able to do that. And now the Colorado can also resupply because it's adjacent to the port hex. Alright, so nothing else I can do with the Navy along the Atlantic. Let's head on down here to the Gulf. And let's see if the Powhatan can take out that Timberclad. Nope. Wasn't able to get him. Alright, so occupying these, let me hide the units for a second so you can get a better look. Occupying these hexes here, or at least having a unit within 2 hexes of it, at least. What that's doing is that's enforcing the Union blockade of the southern ports. Keep the blockade runners from trying to get supplies to the Confederacy. Alright, so keep marching that poor regiment down into the Arizona territories. Let's go ahead and deal with Missouri here first. All right, so we're set up to attack Jefferson City. Let's hope we can go ahead and we can get it. So I'm starting with this particular brigade because there are no additional defensive buffs that the garrison is getting. Whereas like here, it'd be across the river. Here, they're attacking from the shores. These are cavalry. I don't want to start off with them attacking. All right, excellent. So he's able to do 2 damage. Now let's hit him from the other side. Awesome. So that's 2 points. Now we'll come across the river. And excellent. Took him out. All right, so that went better than I was expecting. All right, so we got Jefferson City. I just got to remember to occupy it. Alright, so now I'm going to filter out all of the units. Now, depending on how the situation over here in Missouri unfolds, I may be able to take some of these cavalry brigades and I can use these hexes here to get them over to here to go ahead and support the fighting in the Arizona territories. So, but we got Jefferson City. That's great. That means Missouri is going to surrender. I'm pretty confident that the Confederacy has a unit here. So let me see if I can scout it out. Yep. So they've got a guy in St. Genevieve. All right, so I'm going to have to bring some of these units down here. All right, so we'll cut him off from supply that way. Then I've got the Timberclad over here. I need to get him to Cairo as quickly as I can. I'm anticipating that there's going to be some Arkansas units coming up. They'll take New Madrid back and they'll try for Cairo. So I've got to get some units over there. And unfortunately, now I got to deal with this. Which slows down my advance on Beckley and Lewisburg. Great, so that is going to put a serious crimp in operations here in West Virginia. All right, so back over here to Northern Virginia. Since things are unfortunately not going well in West Virginia, I'm going to try and keep from doing too much here that might expose me. Alright, so just advance them up, start forming our line. So I'm going to have a hard time pushing him out of that hex. But at least now they're going to have to retreat this brigade. All right, so I think that's going to be it. Yep. So that looks like it's going to be it. So this is going to be a headache, or at least it's turning into one. We'll see what happens there. So research and development is maxed out, so I can go ahead and I can start purchasing units. Now, I really ought to purchase some divisions. However, I'm I'm going to go ahead and purchase a bunch of monitors so that I have them. They will come out at roughly the exact same time that the computer is going to get a bunch of free iron monitors themselves. So that way um, I won't be outnumbered on the Atlantic. All right, so that's going to do it for this turn. Again, it was a short turn, so I'm going to advance it. We'll go ahead and we'll try and knock out 2 turns this episode. Advance a turn, see what we get. Hope I don't pay too dearly for that mistake over in West Virginia. So Missouri surrenders. Union plunders 227 production points. That's a lot for... I usually don't get that much. Awesome. Okay, so support for Kentucky secession wanes because of the defeat of the Missouri Guard. That swings Kentucky in our favor. All right, President Benito Juarez announces a excuse me, a suspension of Mexico's debt payments. So basically, Mexico had a civil war. They're deep in debt, and President Juarez has suspended. He only planned on suspending payments for like 6 months, 2 years, something like that. It wasn't all that long, um, but he suspended the payments, and it's going to come back to bite him. All right, so Union warships blockading Hampton Roads. As usual, War Department reports progress in infantry equipment up to 46%. Report advances in field telegraph up to 51%. There's our ledger for next turn. Yeah, Mexico was suffering from crushing inflation and debt from the debt, and he was just going to suspend the payments for a little while. But Europe saw it as an opportunity, and they're going to invade Mexico. So yeah, so the unit there near Brandywine Station, they fell back so that they can go ahead and they can reinforce. Now, does anybody move up? Because there's a minimum of 10 brigades. Yep, there they are. All right, that's helpful. All right, so a lot of Confederate attacks that turn. Luckily, they didn't make any ground, but they did do damage to that one brigade. So we're still shifting around. There's General Price. I wonder if I can beat him to Springfield. Wonder if I can get this unit if I force march him. So California Governor Downey begins recruiting volunteers for the Union. Thank you very much, Governor. I appreciate that. The Confederates sign a treaty of friendship and alliance with the Choctaw Nation. Elijah sells us out. Union warships in Hampton Roads are blockading Norfolk. And Union raiders disrupt French Confederacy convoys. That'll be my guys down there off the Mississippi River. All right, so there's our activity summary for last turn. All right, some more strategic advice. Bottom line, maintain control of the Colorado Territory. Simple enough. Yeah, so the reason that you want to do that, the reason you don't want to let the Confederates get to Denver is because all of the production, all of the MPP that I'm getting from the Western Territories gets cut off if that happens. So I've got to hang on to Denver. And hopefully I will prevent the Confederacy from getting any further than Mesilla. Hopefully I'll be able to stop them at Fort Thorne. At least that's the plan. All right, so again, not getting any reinforcements this turn. So nothing going on down here in the Gulf. Just my guys blockading those supply lines. All right, so I can advance the Minnesota down to Wilmington, and they'll start blocking there. While I'm thinking about it, let's go ahead and upgrade the Fort Monroe Lighthouse, so that way they got better spotting. Colorado and the Wabash make it to Cape Hatteras. All right, as much as I would like to go ahead and dogpile on that brigade, I don't have a lot of units to spare, so let me just reinforce, play defensive for the moment. And I'm afraid that is going to be it for Northern Virginia. Ah, come on, that was a prepared attack. Trying to take this guy out. Well, at least we got him cut off from supplies, so at least there's that. Alright, so we weren't able to take him out, but he is understrengthed, and he doesn't have a supply source. So eventually I am going to take him out. Alright, so now over here along the Mississippi River, yeah, I'm going to need to force this guy out of St. Genevieve, because already here's the reinforcements I was talking about that are on their way. They're going to go ahead and try and take Cairo. If they try to relieve the brigade in St. Genevieve, that would be nice. That would help me more than it would help them. All right, so we can make it to Springfield. Almost make it to Carthage. Scout out some of the positions down there. All right, so I'm going to need this cavalry unit out here. The Indian tribes are starting to join the Confederacy a little bit sooner than I had anticipated. All right, so eventually General Grant and his small army is going to deploy here at Cairo, and hopefully they'll be able to stem the flow of reinforcements coming up from Arkansas. So now I can move the unit out of Fort Washita now, but I don't want to. It's a secondary supply source. I don't want to take a chance of losing it. I mean, I may eventually still lose it, but I'm not going to just march out of there and hand it over. Okay, so that is going to do it for movement and combat for this turn. Unfortunately, I was not able to rectify this problem that I've got in West Virginia. Hopefully, we'll be able to do that next turn. So research and development is still maxed out. So there's nothing more I can add there. So over to purchasing. And so, all right, so I am not going to do this in any particular order. All right, so bear with me on that one. But I am going to purchase as many divisions as I can. And as I promised, I was going to rename them. And like I had just mentioned, I'm not doing this in any particular order. So there is the Dino 117 division is being formed. Next is the Pre-Schlock division. Lunar B. Purchase them. And then, oops, yep, that's it. And then the Far S division. One of my most prolific commenters, Far S. Thank you very much. All right, so now if things go according to plan, these four divisions will deploy around Cairo, and they will be the start of the force that I'm going to have General Grant use to start pushing down the Mississippi River. All right, so that is going to do it for this episode. Um, I've got 142 production points left. I'm just going to bank that. So if you've made it this far, please leave a like, subscribe, and don't forget to share if you know somebody that likes this kind of content. Drop a comment if you care to. And thanks again, and I will see you on the next one.